we had one of those. We've been talking about it for weeks now. 16th, 17th in the Premier League. Who's going to make their season worthwhile with a trophy? And it turned out to be Tottenham Hotspur. Get it done with the 1-0 win in the Europa League final in San Sebastian.
Pretty wild, right? We're sitting here talking about Tottenham after, 17 years, winning a trophy. It's a special occasion, obviously, for Ange Postecoglou. For Manchester United fans out there and for Amorim, it's desperate times as a United fan in particular. However, for Manchester United, there's room for improvement, clearly, but there is a gigantic step needed for them to be competitive once again. It wasn't a great final, but it was good enough for you Spurs fans out there.
All the talk about Spurs winning a trophy. They finally do it. You see 27% of possession. They had 3 shots in the game, but the one that goes in is the only one that matters, and Spurs are your Europa League champions.
Yeah, and Spurs seem to have the number of Manchester United. That's 4 times they've beaten Manchester United in a single season, which is absolutely ridiculous. Let's just give Spurs their flowers. They deserve a ton of credit for what they did do in the game. Very defensively well organised. They made it difficult for United to create chances, and we can criticise Manchester United's inability to find a way to get a goal in this game as much as you want. But in some way, you've got to look at Ange Postecoglou's team working their socks off. They know they've not been great witty this season. They've been hard to watch for you Spurs fans out there. I'm sure you felt the pain. Even in this match, they were hard to watch. But you've got to give Ange Postecoglou credit because his team never stopped. Even in the closing stages of the game, Vicario coming up with a save, Van de Ven clearance off the line. The attitude from Spurs players out there was really immense. And they, in my personal opinion, they deserve to win this game. Overall, they created that one big moment, a freak goal, doesn't matter how it happens, they deserve to be Europa League winners. And well done to you Tottenham fans out there as well for being patient all season long.
Well, and being patient over a period of several seasons, 17 years since their last major trophy. And why not celebrate with a bit of freedom from desire after the game, as is often the case. But we talk about this trophy drought all the time. In some ways, the joke, the meme of it became bigger than anything that Spurs are doing. Is this truly the sort of proverbial monkey off their back? Is this the thing that they were trying to do for so many years and they're finally done it, and now they can kind of move on with building a club that can compete for major honors, compete in the Champions League, compete in the Premier League more consistently?
Listen, they've just won a trophy for the first time in 17 years, and they haven't won a trophy in European football since '84. So you've got to say, this is a tremendous achievement for this football club. It is huge for Tottenham Hotspur, for their history, for the growth of their football club, to be able to attract new players to come to your football club, because you've got Champions League football next season. You finished that low in the Premier League, and yet you have Champions League football next season. It's an unbelievable achievement. And for Tottenham fans in particular, I keep going back to it. Tottenham fans, they've been through hell. Harry Kane years, didn't win a single thing with Harry Kane there. He departs and they win something. It's just, for me, it's unreal. I'm very, very happy for Ange Postecoglou because he has dealt with a lot of BS all season long. From the media, from fans, from even sometimes his own team. This guy claimed that he always won a trophy in his second year, and guess what, Witty? He's just gone and achieved that. I mean, it's hard not to love football when you see someone come out and make a statement like that and they manage to achieve it.
Yeah, and that is the thing that he has put his neck out on the line for. He has basically had to defend his reputation all the way up until yesterday when he was saying, I've been managing in the game for 26 years. Nobody gave me anything. And then he actually goes and wins the Europa League final. From his standpoint, how does that ultimately color the way that his job will have been viewed over the course of the 2 years at Tottenham? Because this is the thing that every manager is brought in to do. Jose Mourinho, who's won a lot in a lot of places, Antonio Conte, who's won a lot in a lot of places, couldn't do what Ange Postecoglou did do, which is win something. Does that ultimately signal job done, or do the 21 defeats in the Premier League overshadow what has been a good campaign in the Europa League?
It's a great question, and I think it's an important question to be asked because Ange Postecoglou has been arguing with the media all season long. He's been critiqued all season long, especially in the latter stages, obviously, getting closer to this European final. They've been poor in the Premier League. They've been awful, actually, really awful. And in many ways, you would say, yeah, a manager in that position, if he didn't get to a European final, would have already been fired. But at Tottenham, there seems to be a great deal of patience from the executive board, obviously the owner in particular as well. But Ange Postecoglou has gone and won a European trophy for your football team. That is absolutely insane to even say it. Tottenham Hotspur have won a trophy. They've won a European trophy. I'm very proud to obviously have watched him when he was managing in Celtic in Scotland, obviously. He was outstanding there. He won trophy after trophy. He had a great deal of composure, the way he handled the media with comedy, with humour. He was very heavily scrutinised. And now to become the first Australian to win a European trophy is just Unbelievable. I mean, brilliant achievement. And I think personally, what Tottenham do now is they get behind this guy and they give him an opportunity. The question is does Ange want to do this anymore? I mean, as I mentioned already, he's taken a lot of nonsense from the media, in particular yesterday, right? The question about, you know, obviously, which way are you going to go? Do you realize you're sitting on the side of could be an icon and legacy being left here, or you could be a clown? You know, and for him to respond in the way he did do, emotionally, you could tell he was invested in this game. Now he's got that trophy. Who's laughing? No way. He's the one who holds all the cards. If he wants to go forward with Tottenham Hotspur, I think Spurs fans need to get behind him. I think the football club will get behind him because of what he's just given them.
Do you think so? You think that now, based off of winning this Europa League, that it does correct all the wrongs, let's say, in the Premier League? The fact that they did take a step back from where they were last season, even stylistically, even in this final, this wasn't Ange ball, what we kind of all describe, which
defense
is
ball.
Kind of throw caution to the wind and send numbers forward and go and attack your opponent. That's not what we saw in this game, or what we saw even in the second leg of the semifinal against Bodo Glimt. This is a different team. Do you think now that that's what will happen, that Tottenham, the fans, the club will get behind Ange Postecoglou and we will see him there next season?
Tottenham, 3 shots, 1 on target, won the game.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not Ange Postecoglou ball. He doesn't have his players always, and throughout the full season, he's dealt with a ton of injuries, Witty, and some key players he's had to deal with. They have spent money. The club got behind him, and clearly the supporters have got on his back very quickly because the style of football wasn't happening for them. He wasn't entertaining them. They weren't enjoying the football they were playing. In many ways, it was sort of this boomerang ball, sorry for the pun, but it was. It was basically go forward, come back, go forward, come back. And more often than not, in the Europa League, especially of late, they've been a bit more defensive-minded and allowed the opponent to really attack them. I think that's not the way he wants to play. It's not the way Tottenham want to play. And I think for sure they've got to make some changes going forward. He needs to be healthy. He needs to have a full, healthy squad to be able to play the football he wants to play. But to become, you know, a European winner, yes, I do honestly believe. Now, all of you Spurs fans out there, and the Spurs media, and the people who critique Spurs, even people who support Arsenal and Chelsea who wanted Spurs to fail, they will recognise the pure joy that comes through your veins of winning that European trophy. Now as a supporter, now as a media member who follows the team, and now, of course, as the ownership. That joy of having that European trophy, you can essentially write off that season. You go into the Champions League next season. It's incredible what a victory can do at this level. Maybe they didn't deserve to be in a final. Many people can say that. 2 teams so low in the Premier League, they don't deserve to be there. They don't deserve to win this. They don't deserve to go into a Champions League spot. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's why we love football. So Ange Postecoglou all the way. G'day, mate.
Yep. We've talked about it all month long, really, since we knew this final was going to happen. If Manchester United win this Europa League final, there's something to salvage from the season. But if they lose it, this is cataclysmic. I think we can say this is the worst Manchester United season since the last time they got relegated.
I want you to extend this one before I even answer what your question will be. Extend to the reasons why you think this is the worst of all time for Manchester United and where they're at right now.
I think we can say this is the worst season since they got relegated in 1974. Back down to the second division was the last time they got relegated. But, I mean, really, the proof here is in what we see on our screen. 18 defeats in 37 games in the Premier League. Could be 19 by the end of the season. Don't win anything to secure Champions League football for next season. Out in the quarterfinal of the Carabao, out in the 5th round of the FA Cup to Fulham. That was an extra time and penalties game. But Manchester United have decided to embark on a major long-term rebuild, and this final was going to be the way for that maybe to be accelerated. I think it's very possible that it goes even worse next season. That it is going to be no European football. They finish 8th or 9th.
So are you saying they could be relegated?
Well, I mean, that would be it actually getting worse in terms of results. What I mean is they get further away from getting back to where Manchester United ought to be. This is a team that has spent more than $1 billion on the current playing squad in terms of transfer fees, never mind wages and all that. Manchester United are in dire straits at the moment. What is the route out of this if you're Manchester United?
I mean, it's very difficult, obviously, to criticise Amorim, in my personal opinion, because he's been given the job in a very difficult situation where United were not confident, they weren't playing good football, they were conceding a ton of goals, certainly a ton of shots, on target, testing goalkeepers, left, right and centre. They were vulnerable, and he took over the team, obviously, in a very interesting part of the season. Didn't have a full pre-season to be able to build up towards, obviously, having some sort of success. He's inherited a team that had zero confidence, and he's been told, do what you possibly can to get results with this group of players. And eventually, you would imagine that the club will support him with some sort of finances to build his team, his squad. Tactically, he changed things. He didn't have the players to be able to tactically change things at Manchester United. I mean, changing formation with a group of players that were coming in to do a four-man backline system under Ten Hag, and then all of a sudden you want to change it to a three, obviously because he wants to stick to his tactics, is very difficult. And he understood that maybe he's not going to get the results because of that. However, he was willing to sacrifice sometimes results to see if he could get performance. Did they get performance? No. They went in the wrong direction this whole season long. And I actually think that under Amorim, they went worse. They went in a worse scenario than they possibly could have dreamt of.
But you started this answer by saying, I'm not going to criticize Amorim. He's picked up 24 points in the Premier League from 26 games in charge. The Europa League was the one thing that you could say was a positive on his record. How much blame does he get for how poorly this season has gone? And also, how much pressure will he be under come the start of next season?
What I said was I don't see them moving on from him. I don't see them having to blame him for this situation. I don't think you can blame him. I know the team's got worse, right? And he wanted it to get better, and he wanted to improve.
Ian, much worse. They were on the periphery of Europe, and now they're 16th in the league.
Right? The stats don't lie, and some of the statistics that stand out to us are absolutely incredible. Even from this game, United have conceded the first goal in 31 games this season. The first goal.
Staggering.
I mean, it's unacceptable for a club like Manchester United. And if you can include in the Europa League, under the games that Amorim's been in charge of, they've been behind and conceded that first goal 7 times in Europa League. Now, it does tell me, obviously, they were undefeated until this match, getting to the final, that there is some sort of fight there. There is some sort of desire from the players to at least try to get back into the game. And even in this game against Tottenham, they created 13 shots in this game, but they just didn't have the quality, Witty. There's no true belief that United can even score a goal. It's almost as if they're hoping to score a goal. I look at the team, and obviously Højlund playing up top is desperate. He's not been a great move for him, full stop. He's just not looked himself. Obviously, if you witness the player, and I know you called many of his games, outstanding confidence, deadly in front of goal, and we all thought maybe it would work out in England in the Premier League, and it didn't quite happen for him. It's not working out this season either. And I don't think Amorim's going to have too much patience for missing opportunities. Zirkzee, the same. I think the one player who came on and did a difference obviously was Garnacho. Thought Amad Diallo was very good in the game today because he's at least active. But at the end of the day, I'm going to answer your question because I've been bouncing around answering actually your question. United will stand behind Amorim. They have to stand behind Amorim. Is the answer to fire and move on? Fire and move on. In football, in this generation, there is zero loyalty. And I'm talking about football full stop. Professional clubs from top to bottom, male or female, no loyalty. If you're a manager, who wants to be that manager? Because you'll just be moved on to the next one. I have full confidence that they're going to stand behind this guy. They're going to give him money, and they're going to give him time to get it right. How much time? Probably a season. If it's not going well by March time and they're in that relegation zone and they've got worse like you expected them to do, then, yeah, I think maybe you tend to want to move on. But if you spend the money and you give him time, I have quite a good feeling that he will improve this group because I believe in that guy, full stop, regardless of how poor they've been this year.